That seems to work. If you enjoyed my recent video where we looked at 9 legendary hacks for designers using Adobe Illustrator, well, I'm delighted to say that today you're going to learn 9 more. And as with learning anything, the more of these you know, the easier your life will be. And by the end of this video, you'll be 9 steps closer to mastering Adobe Illustrator. So first up, we have a feature called Average. So you can see I have a logo design, and if I grab the zoom tool, let's zoom in on the top there. We have a rounded corner. I would like this to be a sharp, spiky point. So I'm going to press A for the direct selection tool and drag over these anchor points at the top. There are 3 selected, and then go to Object, down to Path. Nope, up to Path. There we go. And select Average. And you can select a specific axes, but I'm going to choose both. And if I click OK, what it will do is it will pull all of these to the same coordinates and effectively merge this into a spiky point. Very nice. Next up, an even faster technique for merging overlapping anchor points without the need for scripts or third-party plugins. So for this one, you can see I have a hexagon, and oftentimes when working in Illustrator, we will end up with anchor points that overlap. So if I move these 2 here, and the problem with this is that I can't round off this corner, and overlapping anchor points just causes all sorts of chaos. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge these together. So what we can do is drag over these 3 anchor points. There we go, all selected, and then go to Window and go down. And we're looking for the Pathfinder panel. There you are, you cheeky sausage, I've got you. And then with those anchor points selected, we're going to select the top left option, Unite. And what this will do is it will merge all 3 of those anchor points into a single point. And this is great because it means that I can now do things like round off this corner. And also it will just cause me far less problems in general. Now for you logo and icon designers out there, I think you'll find this next one very useful indeed. So for this next one, I have lots of icons and a lovely grid. Everything is positioned centrally, which is nice. So if I select everything and then use the scale tool to scale this up, well, you can see it messes up the position, but I do need to get those icons a bit bigger, but I don't want to bugger up the position. So let's go up to Object, down to Transform, and we can use Scale, but that will do exactly what we've just done. Instead, let's go down to Transform Each and use this really long keyboard shortcut. Let's click that. Make sure that you have the width and height constrained there, and then we can adjust the scale. Ooh, a bit small. Let's go up, up. There we go. We can play around with the scale, and as you can see, they are staying within those boxes and the position is not changing. So if you're ever working with a lot of icons, this is a huge time saver. Next, we're going to explore how you can use mathematical values. Ugh, math, I know, but it will help your design work look much more precise and ultimately more professional. Plus, it's also very useful if you ever want to create seamless patterns. So you can see I have a line, and if I select this, first of all, I'm going to change the stroke weight to 80 pixels. There we go, let's chunk it up a bit. And if I wanted to create a copy of this underneath with no gap whatsoever, well, I could drag holding Alt or Option and Shift. That would create a duplicate, and if I try and move them together, you can see the stroke styling doesn't snap, which isn't ideal, and we could zoom in loads and try and eyeball this, but that is rather imprecise. So instead, let's get rid of that and use some math. So let's select this line, and now we're going to go to Object, down to Transform, and we're going to select Move. And we're not going to move this horizontally, but we are going to move this along the vertical axes with a positive or negative value, and I'm going to use 80 pixels, the same as the stroke weight. Now instead of clicking OK, let's go and click Copy, and this will copy the currently selected object. And this is now copied 80 pixels underneath, so there is exactly 0 gap between these 2 lines. Now we can also press Command or Control D, and it will repeat that last action. And now I can go and select 2 of these lines. Where are you? There you are. And let's go and double click the color picker, and we'll change these to a nice, oh, what should we go for? A nice bumblebee yellow. There we go. Lovely. Now let's select everything. And we'll drag this up. Let's press R for the rotate tool, rotate this 45 degrees. And then what I'm going to do is grab just the yellow ones. And we'll hold Shift and slide those out. And then select everything. And from the stroke panel, let's round off the stroke. There we go. Let's change the cap to rounded. And this technique is great for creating seamless patterns. However, if I do press S for the scale tool and try and scale this, you can see it goes all kinds of crazy. Let's not use the scale tool. So we'll scale from the corner here, but it still goes a bit wrong, and it's maintaining the same stroke weight, which is buggering up all the work we've just done on making everything seamless. So let's undo that. And first of all, what we need to do is go to the bottom of the transform panel and then check this option here, scale, strokes, and effects. Now let's try that again. Scale it down. And there you go. The stroke weight changes. And now no matter how we resize these, there is still no gap between each of the lines. Now it's time to look at how to smooth out specific paths as opposed to an entire shape. So at the moment I'm working on designing a Dansky signature. And whilst I think this design is looking pretty good, if I grab the zoom tool, we need to talk about this because that is pretty awful and not smooth. Now we've got the new addition of the smooth slider in Illustrator. However, we can also use the direct selection tool to select specific anchor points. So let's grab those ones there. I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to clickety click a few more. Let's grab some of these as well. And we can actually use the smooth slider feature on specific points. So now I've got those selected. Let's go to Object, down to Path, and we're going to select Smooth. There we go. Lovely. Let's move this out the way so we can actually see. You can choose Auto, but that's pretty rubbish. So instead, let's just grab this slider and gradually drag it up. Oh, look at that. And as you can see, all those janky curves are starting to be smoothed out. So let's click away from that to confirm those changes. Maybe I'll move that a little bit to the right. There we go. And yeah, if I zoom out, I think it's fair to say that that is a big improvement. Now this next one is, in my opinion, a more predictable way to connect anchor points together, and it's more reliable than using something like the join tool, which me and that tool, we don't get on. So for this one, you can see I have two lines, and if I select both of these, I can go over to the shaper tool, click and hold, and at the bottom we've got the join tool. But I don't like this. I think it's a bit rubbish and it doesn't always work. Instead, I'm going to grab the pencil tool and I'm going to double click on the pencil tool for some more settings. There we go. And if you're like me and you're not very good at drawing freehand with a mouse, crank up the fidelity all the way to smooth. That's going to smooth out any wonky curves. And also for this next step, check keep selected and edit selected paths. Okay, all good. Click OK. And what we're going to do is make sure, first of all, we select those lines again, and then press N, which is the shortcut for the pencil tool. And if we hover over this point, we can hold shift, click and drag to connect these with a straight line. Okay, nice and simple. Let's undo that and try something a wee bit more creative. Let's hover over that left point, and then I'm going to go up and down, kind of like a heartbeat monitor. And let's finish on that other anchor point. And as you can see, it connects this all into one line. And whilst it still isn't ideal, remember we can use that trick we learned in the last step to select individual anchor points, drag it up, and there we go. That does a pretty decent job, but I've still got some bits that are a bit wonky. Bonus tip then, grab the smooth tool over here. This one is an absolute beauty, and just drag over some paths a bunch of times. There we go. Let's keep dragging. Look at that. Oh, delicious. And we can smooth out any paths. If you ever find yourself consistently zooming in and zooming out when working on a design project, I think you'll appreciate this next one. So here you can see I have an anchor graphic. Oh, did this a while ago. Haven't seen you for a while, my anchory friend. And what I'm going to do is go to Window, down to New Window. And this creates another view of the same document, but it's exactly the same until we go to Window, down to Arrange, and we're going to choose Tile. This will now put these side by side. The one on the left, if I click in here, I can now set this to view the entire artboard. And this one on the right, what I'm going to do is grab the zoom tool. We'll zoom in on that rope there. And let's go and grab, what should we grab? Yeah, let's grab the live paint bucket tool. There we go. Let's go with orange. And if I now start coloring this in at this high magnification on the right, which makes it considerably easier, I can still see how these changes are affecting the full design over on the left-hand side. So this is really useful to have two views of the same document, and if you'd like to merge them back into one single view, just click the X, and there you go, just like that we have one view again. Now this next one is ideal if you'd like to generate a delicious color palette from an existing image. So you can see here I have a JPEG with lots of bubbles and liquidy color goodness. Oh, delicious. Let's drag that one to the left. And then I'm going to duplicate this by dragging with Alt or Option and Shift. And on this copy over here, I'm going to go to Object and down to what am I selecting? Yes, Create Object Mosaic, that one. And there's a bunch of different settings, but basically we're just going to focus on the number of tiles. And this will determine how many colors you would like to generate. So 3 wide and 3 high will give me a grid of 9 colors. If you'd like more, just increase these values. If you'd like less, drop them down. But 9 is good for me. And you can also delete the original image by checking Delete Raster. Click OK. And it's now generated me a color palette from that graphic on the left. So those are pretty good, I think. What I can also do is select all of them. And if I go to my swatches panel that you can see I've got docked up here, and then click the drop down icon and go add selected colors, it will now add these to the swatches panel as global swatches. So yeah, that one is not only very useful, but also a nifty time saver. And lastly, are you using the correct color profile and are they synchronized across all your Adobe apps? Well, if not, this is how to do it all in one go. So this last one is for Illustrator, but also involves Adobe Bridge, and it's rather important. So let's go up to Edit, down to Color Settings. As you can see, I'm currently unsynchronized. Bad Dan, your Creative Cloud applications are not synchronized for consistent color. And as you can imagine, when you're using Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign, not having consistent color is a bit of a problem. Now I could go and change this in Illustrator. I could go down here and change US web-coated swap to something like Fogra because I'm based in the UK. But that is only going to change it for Illustrator. So let's come out of that and instead switch into Adobe Bridge. Go to Edit, and then down to Color Settings here. And doing this from Bridge, I can click this button if I need to see more profiles. But what I'm going to do is pick one of these. Let's go for Europe General Purpose 3. And if I click Apply, it will apply these color settings to all of my Adobe apps like Photoshop, Illustrator, and InDesign. So all of my color should, if I go down here to Color Settings again, should now be synchronized. And there we go, we're all synchronized, and so now the color reproduction between these apps should be consistent. And if you found this video helpful, my full Adobe Illustrator Masterclass is packed full of tricks and tips just like this, and there's a link in the video description if you'd like to check it out. But as always, take care, and I'll see you next time.